To the point, informative, entertaining, and protecting the Second Amendment. Welcome back to Elster's Rifles and Reloading and part 4 of this PSA 5.56 Coal Hammer Forge upper with an FM barrel. And we are up to part 4 and shooting these reloads from part 2 and part 3. And if you're new to this series, you haven't seen this series before, check out my playlist area. Matter of fact, I'll have a link in the description box below to take you directly to that playlist so you can check out those first 3 parts. Part 1, part 2, part 3. Part 2 and part 3, we did the actual reloads that are going to be shot in part 4 here. So enough of the BS here, let's get this going. And some of the first initial shots here, I'm going to measure the headspace of this reloaded brass before and after it's shot and show to you guys, at least in part 2 and part 3, how we bump the headspace back, and now we're going to shoot it and you're going to watch that headspace grow back to where we started from the beginning of part 2. So enough of the BS talk, let's get this going. All right, so just a quick recap. We have the 55 grain full metal jacket with a boat tail, 25.8 grains of varget. You got 10 total rounds for 2 5-shot groups. We also have the 55 grain VMAX, 60 grain VMAX, the 68 grain boat tail hollow points, and 75 grain boat tail hollow points. Enough to shoot 2 total 5-shot groups each. And I'm going to start out with 1 total 5-shot group using the 55 grain full metal jackets. I expect these to perform the worst, being that these are pretty much fodder bullets. And just a quick recap from part 2 and part 3 of the reloading. I got my calipers zeroed out here. And if you remember correctly, we started out with a fireform headspace of 4.54, and we bumped that back roughly 0.03 an inch to 4.51, and I'm just going to show that to you guys here quick. So right there, so 4.51, and you're going to watch this headspace grow back up to 4.54. So I'm going to get 5 total rounds of these fodder 55 grain full metal jacket with a cantilever, and that's going to be our first 5 rounds. Let's go set our target up here at 100 yards. All right, starting out with the 55 grain full metal jackets. I expect these to perform the worst. With a 1.7 twist barrel, I'm going to expect these 68 grain and 75 grain boat tail hollow points perform the best. And probably the 55 and 60 grain VMAX to perform in between those two. And it's just something you're just not going to know until you test it out, and that's exactly what we're doing here. This barrel is also brand new. I probably should shoot some more rounds down this tube before I do load development. Usually prefer to do about 100 rounds roughly, especially in a chrome lined barrel. They usually take some time to break in. But enough of the BS talk. Let's start with the 5 shots of full metal jacket to get this fouled out before we actually start the load development on what I expect to perform the best. And when I get done shooting these 5, we're going to quick double check the headspace to just show you guys how we started out with 1.454, bumped it back to 4.51, and then you're going to watch this expand back up to 4.54. So let's get this going. Get my hearing protection on here. And I know we were having issues with the bolt carrier group locking back on the last round, and it was a mag issue with these new, I think this is generation 3 PMag. We're not having any issues with that bolt carrier group locking back. So let's start out with 5 shots, 55 grain full metal jackets. All right, so as I expected, not the best group, but like I said, this is full metal jacket. Let me grab one of these here. Remember that started out at 1.451, and it expanded to, let me get this behind the camera here, 4.54, just like in part 1. I think I'm going to adjust this down And obviously this is not about bullseyes, this is about group size. And obviously the different types of bullets are going to impact paper differently. But I'm just going to adjust this a little bit to make sure we stay on the paper and the groups aren't mixing together. And I think we'll start there. So let's just jump right into the 68 grain boat tail hollow points. I'm going to do 5 total shots. And I got a feeling the 68 grain and 75 grain will perform the best. But like I said, you just don't know until you test it out. So let's load up 5 of these. And like from part 2, I know that these are the 68 grain boat tail hollow points compared to the 75 grain. They look identical once reloaded because I have a blue mark on the brass. So yeah, not a bad group. You know, I'd say it's hovering right about a minute of angle. You know, I'd say you got almost 4 shots, damn near touching. Looks like I got one bit of a, I don't even know if I'd even consider that a flyer to the right. You know, I'd say it's right about a 1-inch group. So 1 minute of angle group. So let's try the 75 grain. And the reason why I'm kind of beeline it to these because I would expect these to perform the best. And that's, like I said, with the 1/7 twist. That's what I'm hoping for too. Shoot a little bit longer distance with these heavier bullets. And no, not a bad start here. Let's move up to that 75 grain. Wow, I got flyer on that one for some reason. That is interesting. Yeah. Wow, I am not impressed with that at all compared to that 68 grain. Huh. Very interesting. So yeah, let's move on to the 60 grain VMAX. Wow, that is way low and right. It's interesting to watch these different bullets impact paper differently. So yeah, it's about a 1-inch group. I'd say it's comparable to the 68 grain boat tail hollow points. And the fact that the 68 grain actually destroyed the 75 grain and a 1/7 twist kind of makes no sense. But that's how it goes, especially in a newer barrel. You just don't know until you get those rounds on the tube. So I'm going to shoot 5 rounds of these 55 grain VMAX, see how these perform, and then I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break here, let this barrel cool down, we'll start back over. All right, on to the 55 grain VMAX. These are definitely hitting low compared to that 68 grain boat tail hollow point. All right, let's take a break here before we shoot the other 5-shot groups and the different bullet weights. All right, let me get this paused here. So yeah, pretty interesting results. Okay, out of the gate, the 55 grain full metal jacket, I didn't expect that to perform at all. You know, it's a fodder round. And right on after that, we moved over to the 68 grain boat tail hollow points. We pretty much, you know, if it wasn't for this, it'd be almost a 1/2-inch group. You know, with this little bit of a flyer to the right, I would say that's hovering right about a minute of angle. And then after that, the 75 grain boat tail hollow points, I'm actually amazed that those didn't perform better. The 68 grain boat tail hollow points crushed those. And it'll be interesting to do the confirmation 5-shot groups to see if that's the case. And the fact that the 60 grain, I would say that's hovering right about a minute of angle. And the 55 grain VMAX is a little over a minute of angle. The fact that those three combined went and crushed this 75 grain boat tail hollow points, that's really interesting, especially in a 1-in-7 twist. You'd think this would perform the best, but this is just something that you just don't know until you test it out. But enough of this. Let's give this barrel a little bit of a chance to cool down, and we'll start this all back over with a 5-shot confirmation groups. And just to show you guys that the bolt carrier group is locking back on the last round bolt hold. So it's definitely a magazine issue. All right, so I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to beeline it to that 68 grain boat tail hollow points. It'll show some real promise. We'll see if we can duplicate or get close to that group here on the confirmation 5-shot group. And after that, I'm going to try those 75 grains. So let's try this out. All right, back on the 68 grain boat tail hollow points. All right, so you know, the group is okay. I would say it's about 1.25 inches, a little bit bigger than the first 5-shot group. So let's move on to that 75 grain and see how that works. Does that make any sense whatsoever? That's probably the smallest group of all of them. That is so interesting. It's just the way it goes sometimes. Unbelievable. All right, let's load up the 60 grain VMAX. Man, that shot is way high compared to the other ones. What the hell? Yeah, if it wasn't for that first shot being really high, it looks like almost like vertical stringing almost. Huh. Maybe definitely could be something with powder drops. I have my Charge Master, who knows? All right, so 55 grain VMAX. Man, that's a pretty sick group there too. Wow. Unbelievable. And some of these groups are just making no sense whatsoever. On to the last 5-shot group here with the fodder 55 grain full metal jackets. Now, after looking at these groups, I think this barrel just needs some time to break in, and that's definitely the case with chrome lined barrels. You know, this Coalhammer Forge FM barrel has a chrome lining to it, and I got a feeling this thing just needs probably another 100 rounds to break in. When I start seeing inconsistent group patterns like that, that definitely could be the case. So, brand new barrels, I tell you. All right, so that's it. And let's check out this gas block. I know we were having issues with that before, so let's check this out here. It does look like I'm getting some type of gas residue on there. I'm curious if I need to maybe get a different gas block, maybe adjustable gas block. I can definitely see there's some crud coming out of that in regards to carbon fouling. I got a feeling that gas block's still leaking. You can literally see the top of that barrel is brown. Huh, that is interesting. Anyway, let's head down to the 100-yard mark and check that out. I got a feeling this gas block needs to be replaced. But, you know, of all these shots here, I would say damn near the best group is a 75 grain, where, you know, this was the first group, second group, and then on the confirmation group, this group destroys that group. You know, this very well could be a high flyer, and it could have very well impacted here. That's definitely the way you got to look at this. So sometimes I'll purposely eliminate the flyer and see what's going on here. But, you know, this shows a lot of promise. You know, if I ignore this, and if it potentially would have hit here, very well could have been me shooting, but I don't know. You know, the 68 grain bolt tail hollow points look pretty consistent at 1 minute of angle. And this 55 grain VMAX, I mean, it's pretty much one ragged hole here for 4 total shots. And that looks sub MOA. You know, this looks a little bit of a vertical stringing here. So, man, I got a feeling that gas block just needs to be replaced. Maybe probably wouldn't hurt to get something like an adjustable gas block on this. I mean, obviously I can see there's a tremendous amount of residue behind that gas block, and I noticed that at least in part 1 with that gas block bleeding around the tube and on top of the barrel. I think that's pretty much what I'm going to have to do, but this definitely does show some promise here if I eliminate this flyer. Man, that is really interesting. Well, enough of this. Let's take this back to the reloading room. So yeah, back in the reloading room here, and some really interesting results. I've been down this road before. Matter of fact, I had an 7.62 by 51 LMT with a chrome line barrel. And I tell you, that firearm took forever for that barrel to break in. There's no doubt about it. And just like this PSA 18-inch Cold Hammer Forge FM barrel that's chrome line, I got a feeling I'm going to be going down that exact same road, allowing that chrome line barrel to break in. I mean, we did get some sub MOA results right out of the gate here, which is interesting. I think I definitely have some flyers here with a 75 grain boat tail hollow point and this 60 grain VMAX. And I know I mentioned while I was out the range here, I was concerned about this point of impact shift, but I went back and checked out that video footage, and I must be getting older, getting dementia or something. I forgot that I adjusted the scope after this first shot, adjusted it down to the right. So the point of impact locations are not shifting. So that makes me happy. I was getting a little concerned out there, and I forgot I adjusted the scope after that first 5-shot group. But all the group point of impact locations are very, very consistent. So I'm happy with that. And I definitely think I have some flyers here, and I think that is part of a couple things here. Number one, I definitely need to give that barrel a chance to break in. It definitely shows some promise here. Like I said, we got 3 total sub MOA groups here with the 75 grain. We got 0.699 inches. The 60 grain VMAX was sub MOA in this group, and the 55 grain VMAX is sub MOA. And it's just one of those things, you're just not going to know how it performs unless you get those bullets down that tube. And this 75 grain without this flyer, in my opinion, actually shows real promise. I know it's 2.155 inches, but without this flyer, if you ignore this and just imagine that it wasn't a flyer, it was more in the group impact location, this could definitely show some amazing promise. And that's kind of the direction I was going with this 1-7 twist barrel, that they typically prefer some heavier bullets. And I think this is not only allowing the barrel to break in, but I think I really need to check out that gas block. I think there's definitely something wrong with that gas block. Matter of fact, I'll splice in a picture right here, and you can see an excessive amount of carbon blowing out of that gas block and on top of that barrel. And I think that's something I definitely need to check out. Matter of fact, I'm going to call PSA on Monday when they're open, and I could talk to one of their reps about getting not only a new gas block, but maybe an adjustable gas block from PSA. And now they sell their own PSA branded adjustable gas blocks, and probably a new gas tube just to make sure, just to eliminate that part of the equation. So I think if I get a PSA adjustable gas block, a new gas tube, and allow this chrome line barrel more of a chance to break in, I think I see some real promise coming out of this firearm. And I might have to get maybe about another 100, maybe 200 more rounds down that tube for that chrome lining to break in. And I've definitely seen that before. But definitely with this sub-MOA group here, without this flyer, this is sub-MOA 2 without this flyer. So, like I said, you would immediately look at this group and see 2.155 inches, like, oh my God, you start cringing. But this is definitely a flyer. I don't think that's me. I'm not that bad of a shot, especially in comparison to these other groups, other than maybe this one flyer, over 50 total rounds. It definitely shows a promise. And, you know, having these 3 sub-MOA groups, allowing this barrel to break in, I definitely need to get the new gas block. Obviously, I think that's an issue. And if I can get that adjustable, that'd be better. Um, and I will splice in a picture of that gas block and the amount of carbon that's built on top of that barrel. Like I said, it's something I definitely need to check into. But yeah, this is all part of the fun. It's all part of the game, and you're just not going to know until you get out to the range and test that out. With that said, I think that's going to end this part of the series. I just want to let you guys know that I have a video incoming, and I know some of you guys have probably checked this out already on last night's live stream, but I have the A&D FX 120i scale right here, and I have the auto trickler and powder drop for that. And this is not exactly an inexpensive scale powder drop and trickler. That you're talking, once it's shipped with taxes, a little over $1,000. But this should be awesome. This is going to be my next video here. I just got to get this thing put together, start testing it. I'm not exactly sure when this will come out. Like I said in last night's live stream, I want to use this for a little bit and get familiarized with it, especially with the Bluetooth connectivity with something like an iPad. And I plan on getting this mounted somewhere so I can have this as a permanent solution for entering in that powder drop amount. I think we're going to revisit this in part 5. I'm going to call PSA in regards to that gas block, see if maybe if they can even send me a new adjustable gas block, a new tube. And that might be part 5 of this, is getting a whole new gas block and doing some more low development with this new A&D FX 120i V3 combination. That's a whole lot of letters and numbers in there just for a scale of power drop, but it should be pretty amazing. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this part of the series. I think I learned a lot in regards to this load development and what needs to get fixed and what direction I need to go with this particular firearm, especially in regards to allowing this barrel to break in. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. Usually with a semi-automatic, especially with a chrome line barrel, you probably don't want to do low development right out of the gate. You probably want to get a solid 200 to 300 rounds down that rifle bore before you even consider doing low development. I think that's what I'm seeing right here. And I've definitely been down this road before, like I said, with my LMT modern weapon system in 7.62 by 51. And that ended up being a 6x5 target sub-MOA shooter down in the .7s. And it was atrocious out of the box. And sometimes you got to give that firearm a chance to break in. Just because you pull out of the box and it's not an instant shooter, and everyone likes to see that, and so do I. But sometimes you got to scratch your head a little bit, become the mad scientist, and figure out what's going on. So one quick note here before I head out. I know some of you guys have been following and are interested in that shootingtarget7.com Know Your Limits target systems, not only in the rimfire flavor for 22 and 17 HMR, but there's also the new centerfire flavor in 3/8 and 1/2 inch AR500 gongs. And if you've been watching that series and if you're interested in any of those three Know Your Limits target systems, the centerfire 3/8, centerfire half-inch gongs, or the rimfire flavor, you can actually use one of my promo codes now. It's Elster 20 off. So that's ELFSTER 20OFF, Elster 20 off. And that will get you instantly $20 off on any of those, the rimfire, 3/8, and half-inch centerfire flavor Know Your Limits target systems. As a matter of fact, I'll have a link in the description box below. If you want to click on that link on any of those three, depending on which one you're interested in, that promo code will get you $20 off. Now, I just want to be crystal clear with you guys. I am an affiliate with shootingtarget7.com, and that is one of my affiliate links. I do get a little bit of a kickback on that. But if you want to help support me, this channel, and my video content, that is a great way for you to support me. It costs nothing to you other than just clicking on that link and making that purchase if you're going to purchase that product anyways. So it doesn't cost anything to you, but I do get a little bit of affiliate kickback on that helps support my channel and this content. So just want to be honest with you guys on that. So check out the description box below for my affiliate link. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed my content. And if you do, scratch my back, it'll continue to scratch your back by not only subscribe, like, and share, hit that notification bell, become a Patreon, it helps out more than you know, and I will see you guys in part 5.